Hi friends! In this video I wanted to chat with you about whether or not Agrias Oaks is actually into any of her castmates in Final Fantasy Tactics. This is absolutely a silly and indulgent topic, especially when you consider that there really aren't any romantic relationships in this game other than, I guess, Beowulf and Reese. But it's something I was thinking about recently, so I thought it would be fun to make a video. I hope you'll get cozy and grab a drink or a snack while I speculate about Agrias. I was pondering that scene that was added into War of the Lions, where Mistadio gives Agrias a birthday gift, and Agrias seems to not acknowledge that Mistadio is trying to flirt with her. And that just really got me thinking, where is Agrias? Where is her head and her heart? Is she into anybody at all in this game? Because, of course, we never actually find out. Agrias is kind of this beautiful, brave mystery, and everyone seems to love her, but we don't really know if Agrias loves anyone else, so I've decided to spend an absurd amount of time thinking about it. So, let's start with Mistadio, since that's the scene that was on my mind. She, in the game, when Mistadio gives her the gift, she's very polite to him, but she acts a little bit confused, like, oh, really? Are you sure I can have this? It's expensive. And I feel like there's two ways to read that. Either the first is that she legitimately doesn't understand that Mistadio is interested in her and trying to flirt with her, or the other way is that she's just trying to let him down gently because she doesn't feel the same way and he's her friend and she doesn't want to hurt his feelings, so she's trying to just play it off and not make things awkward between the two of them. So, I guess in my mind, I tend to see it as the second option. Like, I think Agrias probably knew that Mistadio was hoping for more than friendship with her, even though she ends the scene with that line that goes something like, "I'll treasure this just like I do our friendship," after Mistadio has worked up his nerve to even approach her, as we saw in the beginning with him, talking to Ramza, and Ramza's like, "Come on, Mistadio, are you gonna do it or not?" So, based on that scene, I'm guessing that what the writers were going for, or Agrias' in-game personality, she's probably not super interested in Mistadio. And even when you look back, when we're in chapter 2 and we first meet Mistadio, and, he's in trouble and he wants to join Ramza's team to get help for his father. And let's see, it ends up like, I think Ramza and Ovalia are okay with letting Mistadio come along, but Agrias, I think, is the one who kind of argues against it a little bit. Like, she's like, who is this guy? Why are we letting some stranger join our party? And so I guess right from the beginning, it doesn't seem like Agrias is super into Mistadio. So, maybe the poor guy never really had a chance, just full stop, at all, ever. But, I don't know. I mean, I guess we don't get to see them interact all that much after that, since Agrias starts to not get that much featured time in the game from that point onward, to the point where eventually she has her last cutscene and we never see anything about Agrias' personality again, unfortunately. But I guess from that moment, I wouldn't think that she was all that into Mistadio. And then, of course, we have the Agrias birthday scene, where she lets him down in what I guess she thought was a gentle way, if that's the way you want to read it. So overall, I guess, in-game personalities, these two are a little bit hard to ship. I don't know that they work as a pairing. I mean, obviously, it's left completely wide open in the game, so that doesn't mean that has to be the truth. Like, anyone who ships Agrias with Mistadio is, that's perfectly valid. But also, considering that this is Final Fantasy Tactics, we really have to consider the Zodiac pairing, because that is such an important feature in this game. Like, if you have the right Zodiac signs with each other, then you do more damage or less damage, and you're better at healing each other or not so good at healing each other based on the zodiac pairing. So, given that that's a feature in the game, I decided I had to look that up for these two zodiac signs to see how they are as a pairing in zodiac terms. So I consulted a book called Cosmic Coupling, which, if you're not super into astrology, that book is hilarious. It's a little bit dirty too, so I mean, if you're easily offended by raunchiness, then you probably don't want to read that book, but I think it's hilarious, and if I was going to look up an astrology pairing, that's the only book I would look at. And I guess I should put like a disclaimer right here. I really think astrology and zodiac stuff should just be for fun. Like, you shouldn't be, using it to say like somebody's a horrible person, or to just completely say like, oh, I won't even speak to that person because they're a Taurus. Like, if it's gotten to that point in your life, then, maybe don't be into astrology. But for the purposes of this video, we're just talking about it for fun because zodiac signs are in the game. So in that book, they describe because Mistadio's sign is Libra, so we've got a Libra man with a Cancer woman, because Agrias is a Cancer. So according to the book, they would actually be better off as friends rather than a romantic pairing, because the way they describe it is that, in their opinion, Libra man often wants to be the fun one in social situations, but then Cancer woman also has a really lively personality, so Libra man might end up feeling like he's always outshone when he's out in public with Cancer, and this might actually not be what he's really into in the long run, and it might make him feel like there's too much competition in the relationship. So they tend to actually be better buddies, like just going out together as friends and having a great time and not, being on each other all the time, so that Libra can have his own chance to shine. So it also says that Cancer woman tends to have a lot of chaos in her life, and that Libra man tends to really avoid disarray in his own life. So if these two were to get together, according to the book, Mistadio might be the one to end it in the long run, because it might be too much stress for him. So, it does also say that they would typically have a great time in bed, so there's that. But I'm not going to get into too much detail on all of that, because this is YouTube and I don't know what I'm allowed to even say and not say on YouTube, so I'm trying to keep this pretty PG. So overall, I guess when you look at these two as a ship, with their in-game personalities, they're not too likely, and with their zodiac sign compatibility, they're also not too likely. So maybe it's good that Agrias seemed to friendzone Mistadio in that scene. Okay, so another popular pairing for Agrias that I see on fanfiction sites is Agrias plus Ovalia. And these two, I can definitely see it. They seem to have a pretty strong bond in the game. Agrias is Ovalia's bodyguard when we first meet the two of them. And Agrias does seem to care about Ovalia, and I don't know if that extends to romantic feelings, but they seem to be really fond of each other. We see like when they meet up with Delita during the waterfall scene with the bridge, Agrias seems really protective over Ovalia, like she's like crouched over her, like, are you okay? Really seems to care about her. So they seem to have a pretty strong emotional bond with each other, which I guess is, a positive sign for these two as a potential pairing. I guess one thing that might count against them, and I don't know for sure if it would, but maybe, the scene where Agrias gives Ovalia that knife when Ramza's team meets up with Delita and Ovalia, and Agrias gives Ovalia the knife to defend herself. Ovalia at this point asks Agrias, please stay with me, like, I want you here. And Agrias tells her no. And, I guess for the most part we're supposed to assume it's because Agrias knows that, they have Lucavi demons to fight, that she can't just stay with Ovalia when they have a bigger purpose they need to achieve. But it also, I guess from another point of view, it can sort of come across as Ovalia having much stronger feelings for Agrias than Agrias has for Ovalia. So again, we might have a one-sided situation where we have one character really head over heels in love with Agrias, and Agrias just cool as a cucumber, not so much interested herself. That's another way of looking at it, which, I feel like in this game, and, with more characters even, I don't know, I guess character is not the right word, but it kind of seems like everybody really loves Agrias. It's hard to tell if Agrias feels the same way, and it is kind of funny, like, Agrias is just our ice queen of the game, which I do really like her. I think she's a cool character, but it seems like she may be leaving a trail of broken hearts behind her. So now let's look at the zodiac compatibility between these two. We have Agrias is a Cancer and Ovalia is a Taurus, and when I look in my book, it says that these two, if starting a relationship, they tend to automatically click and can seem like a really strong couple at first. And it also says that they tend to help each other settle down, especially if either one of them was like a party girl in the past. They can kind of learn to, I don't know, I guess just have like a more settled, normal, healthy home life together. But the book also said that these two signs, as women, tend to both be divas and kind of need a lot of attention to themselves and basically the opportunity to be the diva of the relationship. So as a pairing, like, even though they learn to play house together and they get along really well at first, it's likely that they won't make it in the long run because each one of them is eventually going to want to move on to someone more mature, where like they can play the diva in the relationship and the other partner is the more mature, stable partner. So it says even zodiac compatibility, these two are kind of just medium. It's not guaranteed to work out in the long run. And finally, we're looking at what is probably the most popular ship in Final Fantasy Tactics, Agrias plus Ramza, which, I feel like there's just a lot of fan love for this pairing, and I completely understand why. Ramza is the lead of the game, and Agrias is very heroic and awesome in her own way, so they kind of make sense, like, from a character in-game point of view. Agrias, gosh, it's hard to even approach this one. I don't want to step on anyone's favorite ship, because I feel like this is a lot of people's favorite ship. I like them together, but it's not necessarily one that's like, I don't know, it's not like an obsession for me. I'm not like Ramza plus Agrias forever or anything like that. But, I guess I can see it. They're both pretty good, strong leader types, but Agrias does manage to blend into Ramza's team, and they're not constantly fighting each other, even though they do seem to argue a fair amount in the game, when Agrias thinks they should do one thing and Ramza seems to think they should do another. But it's never too heated. Like, they're not, they're not at each other's throats to the point where it seems like they would be a bad couple if they were to get together. So, and there's also, there's the scene where Ramza rescues Agrias from those knights that are chasing her. And, I guess when you're looking at, like, old-fashioned, like, romance novel type situations, that's pretty typical. Like, I could see how, like, maybe the writers were trying to set them up to look like a cute traditional couple. Although then you look at the scene where they have Mistadio flirt with Agrias later on, and it's like, well, did they throw that scene in to try to say, like, no, Ramza isn't with Agrias? I don't know. What do you think about that? Because, I feel like I've seen comments about that somewhere online. It just kind of seems like it's odd that they chose to introduce that scene to the game at all. It was almost like they were trying to say, you don't know who Agrias is with, and you don't know who Ramza's with. Like, we've thrown in this scene to make it clear that they're not with each other. And, I mean, I'm fine with that, but I don't know. I wonder why they threw that scene in, just overall, or unless they just thought it would be really funny, because it is a little bit funny. But now I'm getting sidetracked onto Agrias Mistadio, so I need to get back onto Agrias Ramza. So I think they could be an okay couple based on what we see of their personalities. I guess I don't see anything that says they wouldn't be. I'm not sure if I have a whole lot to say there, so if you guys can think of anything about their interactions that implies yes or no, then let me know in the comments, because I am eternally curious about this kind of thing. But if we move on to the Zodiac book, in this case, when you look at the game dynamics, Agrias is a Cancer, and Ramza is considered, if you haven't chosen a different sign for him, he's supposed to default to Capricorn, and there's a gameplay manual that lists him as a Capricorn. So for the purposes of Zodiac comparison, I'm going to assume Ramza is a Capricorn for this video, even though we know in the game he can be any sign that you want to make him, so that's not set in stone, but just so we have something to compare to, let's say he's a Capricorn. And in that case, the game would say that they are an excellent match because they're opposite signs on the Zodiac wheel from each other. And the game lists the opposite signs as being a really good match for each other. Now, when you look at my Zodiac book, that has something different to say. It actually describes them as not a very good match if Ramza is a Capricorn. And their description for this is that they say that Capricorn man, he may have been like sort of picked on by popular girls in his high school years, and they describe it as it may have been because the girls were like secretly kind of attracted to him, but also just immature and being rude, but he didn't know that that was why that was, so he just saw it as himself getting picked on. And then they go on to say that Capricorn man might see Cancer woman as sort of a lot like those popular girls who picked on him when he was younger. So he might end up basically, when with Cancer, it might be kind of a revenge fantasy for him, being with the popular girl and like getting with her and then dumping her. So I really hate to think of Ramza acting that way. I feel like that's not a good description for the Ramza that we know. So, and it also says that Cancer woman would probably leave the relationship if he didn't end it, because she needs an emotional connection in a relationship, and that Capricorn man tends to not really provide all that much emotion in his relationships, so she won't feel like she has that connection with him. So the book seems to say that no, this match would not work very well at all from their point of view. So that's where we have it for Agrias Ramza, with the two categories of in-game personality versus Zodiac compatibility, which I guess that still just leaves us with a mystery. Is Agrias into anyone from the game? Or is she just, you know, so cool that she needs to be all by herself because no one is good enough for Agrias? I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments, and I hope you enjoyed watching this, even though it was completely random and didn't have much to do with what actually goes on in the game, but I don't know. I just thought it would be fun to talk about shippy situations for Agrias, and hear if anybody has any opinions on them.